When a movie has mistakes, we get it. Sometimes things slip under the radar, but with animation you have complete control, so we have no idea how these mistakes made it into big budget animated movies. Today, we're looking at 10 movie mistakes you won't believe possible in animation. Let us know what your favorites are, and remember to push that red button to subscribe for more. But first, can you guess the magical movie based on these emojis? Stay tuned for the answer.
I interrupted from the top. Hero of Men. Go.
Moana. Moana is a great movie, taking Polynesian folklore and mythology and turning it into a character-driven, relatively small-scale story about destiny, friendship, and responsibility. At the heart of the movie is Maui, the mischievous trickster demigod of the sea and wind. He's the catalyst of the plot, as the movie's opening tells the tale of how he stole the heart from the Mother Island. It's a great, high-energy scene that introduces us to Maui and all his powers. It also establishes the way he transforms thanks to his staff. What it didn't prep us for was how his staff magically disappears into hammer space. Maui, while in the form of an eagle, flies down to his raft. He transforms back into his human state and begins to sail away, staff in hand. However, in the very next cut, to the long shot of him on the raft, his staff has mysteriously disappeared. We know the staff has magical properties, but we're not sure if that includes disappearing into thin air or not. We never really see Maui summon it from nowhere, so we can only assume it was an editing error. That being said, considering how important the staff is to the plot and Maui's character arc, he should probably consider keeping a closer eye on it.
Do you want to build a snowman?
Frozen. We know you're probably sick of hearing about Frozen by now. After all, the movie is absolutely everywhere. We're not quite done talking about it though, as the movie is still a lot of fun. While there are the usual editing mistakes you should expect from this list by now, we've got a more confusing one. While Maui's staff seem to accidentally disappear into hammer space, Hans seems to actively command hammer space. Throughout the movie, Hans seems to pull his sword out of absolutely nowhere, and then rather than put it away, it just seems to vanish. He never has a scabbard on him, so we don't know where he's sheathing the sword, nor do we have any idea where he could conceivably hide a sword that big. It's not exactly a pocket knife. Throughout the climax and even before, Hans will randomly appear sword in hand, drawn from nowhere, and when he's done, it returns back to nowhere, almost as though he's in an old school video game. Maybe it's for the best that Hans doesn't have the sword all the way through. After all, he is a bit of a naughty man, and we don't want to see anyone get hurt.
I know you're dead, but I hope everything is okay.
Kubo and the Two Strings. So far, we've only had digital 3D animation on this list, and we think it's high time for a change. Kubo and the Two Strings is the crowning achievement of Laika Studios. The team has brought Coraline and the Box Trolls to the big screen, and they seem to be doing everything in their power to become the Pixar of stop motion. Stop motion is a grueling process of taking a puppet and moving it ever so slightly, taking one image at a time. It's a long, painstaking process, and Kubo and the Two Strings perfected it, using not only practical but digital effects too, as well as giant human-sized puppets for some monsters. So given all this hard work, we can easily forgive the errors in the dragon fight. When Kubo fights the dragon-like monster, it grabs him and closes his hand around him. Despite Kubo being completely surrounded by the beast's fingers, somehow his head is clearly visible in the next shot. Later, after being tossed aside by the dragon, he lands, with his katana dug in the ground to the right of him. When he regains his strength, he gets up and retrieves his sword, which is now to his left? Oops.
Buzz, will you get up here and give me a hand?
Toy Story. We'll cut Toy Story some slack, as it was the first feature-length CG animated film. Toy Story does have a very interesting habit of relevant plot objects appearing and disappearing at a whim. The 8-Ball, Baby Monitor, and even RC seem to randomly spawn in places they clearly weren't just a few frames before. Like near the beginning of the movie, where RC is clearly left cracked by a cardboard box. Yet when Andy leaves the room and Woody announces the coast is clear, RC just leaves the closet like all the other toys, as though we were there all along. Later on in the movie, before the toys launch Woody's awesome plan, it reads 12 a.m., despite it being broad daylight outside. Our favorite of all the movie mistakes, though, has to be Buzz's epic stunt early on in the movie, where he rides a small toy car up and around a Hot Wheels track with wings outspread. Buzz is clearly too big to go through the loop, and the animators know this, as they cut to Buzz as he's just at the top of the loop. A clever little way of hiding the problem for the sake of a cool scene. Minions. Let's take a break from editing mistakes for a moment and look at some good old-fashioned normal mistakes. The Minions movie makes quite a few of these, especially when the little yellow dudes cross over to the UK. The mistakes themselves are innocent enough. When a menu outside a food stand is visible, the UK currency is shown in pounds and pence, with a decimal, which makes sense considering today the entire Western world uses that system. However, at the point in time the movie is set, the UK didn't have the decimal system in place. The currency, which was made up of pennies, shilling, and sixpence, was decidedly more confusing. That's not the only UK-based mistake the Minions movie makes. Later on, when one particular dopey minion takes 2 fire hydrants into a hot tub with him, the movie incorrectly places American fire hydrants in with him. British fire hydrants at the time looked less like this and more like this. Certainly less pretty, but definitely more time accurate. Still though, it's a simple enough mistake for an American studio to make. UK fire hydrants don't nearly resemble the minions enough for the joke to work, so we'll have to let it slide this time.
Pikachu.
Pokemon, the first movie. We've got to keep mixing it up, so it's high time for a lore mistake, and no group of fans are more unforgiving of mistakes than the Pokemon fandom. Pokemon, the first movie, wasn't really an introduction of new fans to the genre. In fact, the movie got panned by critics because they couldn't follow it due to not watching the show. This means we can pretty reasonably assume everyone who watched the movie was familiar with Pokemon and spotted this mistake, a mistake the animators certainly should have known about. During the opening, Ash battles a random stranger. He sends out the ground-type Domphen, and Bulbasaur beats him with a super effective grass-type attack, so we know they understand type matchups. Later in the battle, the trainer becomes so frustrated, he throws 3 Pokemon, including another ground-type, Golem, at Ash. Pikachu quickly beats all of them with a single Thunderbolt. Hardcore Pokemon fans will have twitching eyebrows at this, because Golem should be immune to that attack and completely unaffected. It's not the worst movie mistake in the world. They didn't forget to animate the Golem in or anything serious, but for us hardcore Pokemon fans out there, we were just left a little confused as to how the movie forgot its own rules.
I'm not a puppet, I'm a real boy.
Shrek. Shrek, the movie that launched 1,000 memes and helped Smash Mouth's career, if only momentarily. While most fans come down on the side of Shrek 2 when picking the best movie, everybody loved John Lithgow's performance as Lord Farquaad in the first movie. The Lord who desperately wants to be king, but has to marry a princess in order to do so, classic bad guy setup. When he's getting help from the magic mirror to pick out which princess he wants to marry, there's a slight problem. He has the choice of Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, and Cinderella. Now there's nothing wrong with the first two. After all, they're both princesses from royalty, but Cinderella? She married into royalty. The only reason she's a princess at all is because she married the handsome prince. So with that in mind, who does Lord Farquaad think he is? He can't just approach a married woman and propose. Does he just not know? Does he think Cinderella will be okay with polyamory? What does Prince Charming think of all this? These are all questions we need answers to, and we'll probably never get.
Who are you with? FBI? CIA?
Let's just say I'm AAA affiliated.
Cars 2. We're not sure how you can make a spy movie in which the characters are universally vehicles. It's not exactly the most logical follow-up to a movie about racing, but somehow Pixar did it. While Matter himself could be considered a movie mistake, he's involved in one of the more subtle errors in the movie. During a conversation between Matter and Lightning McQueen, Lightning pulls round and stops in front of Matter. For some reason, Matter is mysteriously shifted to the other side of the road, although he never drives over there himself. He just sort of teleports. It's not a huge mistake, but it's also part of why it's so damn annoying to look at. How did he get over there? It's not the only time something randomly appears in Cars 2, however. Throughout the movie, random floor drains suddenly spawn. Not to mention cars that were lagging in the races randomly appear right behind him as though they've been a contender in the race the entire time. That being said, most of these goofs are fairly subtle, and you'll only likely notice them on rewatching the movies or if you're very, very observant the first time around.
The boss is a regular Benjamin Franklin.
Who's Benjamin Franklin?
Food fight. You had to know this was going to go on the list. We're not going to pretend like Food Fight is high-hanging fruit or was even really finished, but this was a movie with a big enough budget to get Charlie Sheen and Christopher Lloyd involved, and must be treated like such. So what's the biggest mistake? The animation itself. It's so over-the-top manic and exaggerated, we have no idea if it was a stylistic choice or if everything just went horribly wrong, but it was certainly a mistake. Characters walk with ridiculous lunges and their heads just never stop moving. Mouths don't move when they're supposed to, and occasionally move when they're not meant to. The models are barely clipped to the ground while walking. All in all, it's absolutely hilarious to watch random clips from it, although a full viewing of the film doesn't quite have the same effect. If there's one thing we know for sure, it's with all the great animation out there and the hard work that goes into it, with big studios and producers looking and overseeing every aspect of filmmaking, you certainly wouldn't think that this would be possible.
Oh, you think that's funny? Well, we'll see who's laughing when I bite your yummy head off.
Trolls. Ah, Trolls, the very cutesy movie based on the not-so-cutesy toy. This discussion scene in Trolls has quite a few little hiccups in it. While the trolls are discussing what to do with their situation, the movie at a couple of points forgets the geography of the room it's using. The first, not-so-noticeable thing is the subtly moving carpet. While the conversation is going on, all the little trolls are sitting together on the carpet. However, after a brief cutaway to the standing troll, we return to the little trolls on the carpet only to find it has moved to the right, with the pink troll now being on the white floor rather than the green rug. Although it's not quite as impressive as the magically disappearing troll in the same scene, who at one moment is sitting near the back of the crowd, and then at the next cut is completely gone from the room. At no point do we see the character get up and walk away, so we can only assume the troll either vanished into thin air, or there was a small error on the animator's part. Well, that's all we have time for today. What are your favorites? Are there any other goofs from these movies you noticed that we didn't? Please make sure to comment below and let us know. And as always, be sure again to subscribe to Screen Rant if you haven't already for more content like this.